Fantastic. How's everyone doing? Very good, very good. So I'm here to tell you a story about DevOps and the death of the zero-sum game. The point of this presentation is to make this a little fun, a little energetic. I'm kind of hyperactive and I talk really fast, even though I'm originally from Hawaii and Alabama. And that's for real. I'm the fastest talking Hawaiian Alabamian you'll probably ever meet. But this is a super important presentation from a lot of perspectives, and I want to go ahead and get started. And then I have a demonstration to show you also. Okay? So one is, if you think of the millions of developers that are in this world, the millions of enterprise IT software experts, whether they be a Linux administrator, a network administrator, database administrator, a software programmer, a scripter, a Python, PHP, it doesn't matter what you are. There are millions of those people in the universe, yet there's only a few of us here today. So here's one thing I want you guys to take away from this. There's a very few elite, we're the 1%ers. Actually, we're less than 1% in developer conferences and meetups and things of that nature. So what's critical is that you must understand you're the hero of this story. You're the creator, you're the maker, you're the developer, you're the scripter, you're the playbook maker. You actually have a superpower that very, very few people have on this planet. So keep that in mind. We're actually very special people indeed, and I think that's super critical to understand, because in the effort of moving to a digital transformation and thinking about digital transformation, we need to understand that by 2020, most organizations will be digital predator or digital prey. So keep that in mind. We're a more critical asset than ever before. And as a matter of fact, in this MIT Sloan survey, 87% of surveyed executives said, you know what, we actually are worried about digital disruption. 87% said we're worried about that. Yet only 44% are doing something about it. And of those organizations, only 11% believe they have the in-house talent. And they're talking about us here in the room today. 87, 44, 11. The numbers really drop off dramatically. Now, here's a great quote from this fellow at Pointy Ears. Change is the essential process of all existence. And that's what we're here today for. We're actually change agents. Now, by 2018, 90% of all organizations that attempt DevOps without addressing specifically the cultural norms, the cultural foundations, cultural transformation will fail. This is a quote specifically from the Gartner organization. So I want you guys to think about that for a second. We focus on culture, and that's why I told you guys are the hero of the story. Because if you have a culture, if you looks like this one, where the developer rocking out on their headphones, you know, the programmer doing their thing, fixing the bug, running unit tests, they did it in their IDE, they got the debugging to work. They think they fixed the bug. They check that code in at 4:45 on Friday. They head out to the bar, okay? And actually, I know the developers, the developers in the room, we don't head out to the bar. In my specific case, I head out to the soccer field for my daughter, or maybe I have to head out to something for my son or something like that. But in any case, the developer thinks they can go, and the poor operations person is left holding the bag. They're the poor person who has to spend their entire weekend in some cases to make your crappy code run. And I want you guys to think about that. And actually, in several organizations where I ran the software engineering effort, I made the developers stay all weekend too. And guess what? We had vastly better code after just 2 weekends of that. Because if you are accountable for running your code, you will write better code. If you're accountable for making sure that the users are happy and productive, in production with that code, you will do it better. So we must fundamentally overcome this wall of confusion, this concept that separates us. That developers are apart from operations and operators. We have to fundamentally tear that wall down. And as a matter of fact, there's a great quote from Wolverine here. In the future, you and I are going to be good friends. You just don't know it yet. And that is the story of DevOps. Because what we must do is actually deliver the software package hand in hand together. Together, DevOps and the whole ecosystem of software IT, or enterprise IT, are there to deliver better business value faster. Right? We're here to deliver business value. So it's not just a story of Dev and Ops. It's a story of developers, maybe the security people, maybe your database administrator, maybe your enterprise architecture team, your product management office, program management office, PMO, QA. And all these folks have their role to play in the software delivery process. So it's more than Dev and Ops. It's Dev and security and QA and product management and program management, et cetera. And I love thinking of them in these perspectives. I give them these identities because these individuals actually are very much like me. That's how I like to think of it. Now, I might argue if it's Star Trek or Star Wars. I might actually say, hey, Mr. DBA, you look like The Walking Dead. No, I mean you love The Walking Dead. I'm just picking on DBAs. They're not actually zombies. But it gets even better. I mean, if you think of the ecosystem in which we work in, I bet your QA manager, I bet she loves Harry Potter. You can speak to her about that. As a matter of fact, you should take her to lunch and talk about that as an example. Okay, we got to get through some more statistics, then I want to get to a demo. But this is the Puppet Lab State of DevOps report. If you've not read it, I highly recommend it. High-performing organizations outperform lower-performing peers by 46 times more deployments. Think about that. Getting to production 46 times more often than the lower performers. You can imagine that if you can get to production 46 times more often, you can learn more, you can understand more, you can feel what your customers' needs are, and you can iterate and get back out the door again, okay? And as a matter of fact, because you can deploy so much faster, you have a 440 times lower time to respond, meaning business value to production. You can actually take an idea, put it in code, and get out the door 440 times faster, okay? So you got to think of it like that. As a matter of fact, because you can have all this high-speed access or this high-speed capability in your organization, you actually have 96 times faster time to recover. So if there is an error where you did make a mistake, you recover that much faster. Now here's another great quote from the mother of dragons, Khaleesi. I'm not going to stop the wheel, I'm going to break the wheel. I really like this one. Because here's what software looks like in the modern enterprise today. Here's what software delivery looks like for many of us. We have this amorphous blob and a whole gang of people trying to push it up the hill. You know, you've heard the story, pushing the rock uphill, pushing the stone uphill. In this case, we don't even know what it is. And there's all these people kind of moving in different directions, trying to move it up there. As a matter of fact, there's someone up there trying to push back down on it. And if you're a developer, you probably think, that's the operations person. And I'm here to tell you that's wrong. That's actually the DBA. Or maybe better yet, you're looking at this person at the very top. Well, that's your architect trying to ride herd on the amorphous blob, stay in control. And your operations person is this poor individual here on the bottom, where all your stuff is basically crushing them under the weight of that amorphous blob. And if you actually achieve delivery of this software and get it over the hill, you got to do it again and again and again. It's actually inhumane. It's not fun. Why do we do this as a career path? And so I want you guys to think about this. Another great quote from a very famous individual. Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed. Software delivery should look like this. Everybody working together, hand in hand, to deliver the software together, a nice cohesive unit of software, in this case a nice round object that rolls easily. So let's talk quickly about force multipliers, and then I want to give you the demonstration. Hopefully this, a little bit that we did here, does encourage you to think about DevOps in a different way. DevOps is fundamentally here to change the way we work with each other, and it's super critical that we figure out those cultural changes we need. But there's a bunch of cool tools that could come your way too. For instance, self-service, on-demand infrastructure. So in other words, I want something and I want it now. I don't have to wait for that. I don't have to wait weeks for that. Or perhaps I care about automation, or perhaps I care about a deployment pipeline, or really cool blue, green, or canary deployments. So all of these things are certainly possible now, and these are the things that give us superpowers. And these things are all available to us today, all in open source. So I actually want to show you a quick project called Fabricate. And we actually have it hosted, so let me go ahead and we have it hosted on OpenShift. And let me put these glasses on so I can see everything well. And hopefully everything has not gone to sleep, nor have I lost my network connection in the process. All right, let's go over here. So let's watch this. Let's say you've adopted all the DevOps cultural norms, and now you want to think in terms of what does it take to build a new project. I'm going to come right here and hit Add to Space. This is all hosted at OpenShift.io, by the way. It's the Fabricate project. And I'm going to say add to space, and I'm going to pick from a series of curated stacks. Right now we only have two, specifically Vertex for reactive and Spring Boot for traditional enterprise Java. There'll be more in the future, whether it be Go or Ruby or Python or PHP. We're waiting for your input and your contributions on that. I'm going to hit Vertex here, and I'm going to hit Next. And that basically means I'm picking that JVM-based stack with its Maven artifacts associated with it. And actually, let me give it a name, my Vertex ATO. And hit Next here. And let me also now show you the pipeline selection. So the next step in this wizard is specifically pick the pipeline template that can be associated with the project. And you can see I have a network connectivity issue here. It's taking a little time. There we go. And there's 3 templates we provide out of the box. One, a continuous integration project. So this is Jenkins. We're going to configure Jenkins for you automatically. So I can do continuous integration in a fairly straightforward way. The other is do continuous integration and roll it out to stage. And the last one is roll it out to stage and then wait for manual approval to roll it out to runtime environment. I'm going to hit next here and just select that default option. So if you look at it, I'm just taking all the default options other than giving my project a name. And now I'm going to hit finish. Now, a lot has happened in this wizard. I have self-served. I didn't wait for anybody to give me a virtual machine. I didn't wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 weeks, depending on where you work, for a virtual machine. I'm getting all those resources for me automatically. I have a GitHub project now set up for me. I picked from a selected set of curated stacks. Perhaps maybe my operations team has chosen what these things look like. And here I'll click on this project. And you can see specifically here is the source code. It is a Maven-based project. And there's the Jenkins file for that pipeline. Jenkins, in this case, uses a pipeline definition in the form of Groovy. And we have that out there. And you can kind of see the pipeline should be kicking off here in the background. Build number 1 is already started. We're fully automated with a full deployment pipeline. Now, the last thing I'll show you this. So that by itself is pretty cool. I installed nothing. I did nothing other than click. But now let's say if I want to change the code. I'm going to hit Create Workspace here. And that actually takes a few moments to run. And so what I'll do is, well, let it get started, but I'll show you one I already have running. But the Create Workspace is incredibly powerful. This is based on a project called Eclipse Che. It's a full browser-based cloud-native IDE. And you install nothing on your laptop, and you have the full, ready-to-go development environment. As a matter of fact, let me actually switch windows because I already have one running. OK? This is a full Linux environment. I can come over here now, and I'm interacting with a Linux container running on the server. This is all OpenShift. This is all Kubernetes. This is a Linux container running back here. I can even run top on it. So I have a full Linux set up for me. Again, completely self-service, fully automated. And I can come up here now and run that code. So in this case, it is my programming editor right here. I'm going to run the programming environment. And by the way, I can even come over here and mess with it a little bit. Router. OK. And you know, it's a full IDE. In other words, it actually does syntax highlighting and checking. And it'll do that change for you. But let's see here. You'll notice also that it's actually running in real time, making changes happen on the fly. So it's just like Google Docs from that perspective. You can see it says hello. If I want to change this to bonjour, right? Well, we don't spell bonjour correctly, but that's OK. You know it's live. And hit refresh here. There we go. And maybe I want to make this aloha, right? Originally, I could say howdy or hey y'all, but we'll go aloha. And let's see here. All right? So you can see it's dynamically hot redeploying, treating Java as a dynamic language in this case. And this is, by the way, is all unique to me. I can share this with my product manager. I can share this with the rest of my team. I can say, come look at this URL. The URL is live. If you actually want to get on it, you could do it right now on your phone. I know it's too much to type. But you can interact with my application, and I could show my users, is this what you wanted me to do? Is this the change you want me to make to the API? And they can say yes, and I can say, great. I'm going to check it in. So let me go here and do a git commit. All right, and I'm going to say I want this to be aloha. I'm going to push my changes and hit commit here. So now my git commit is working. You'll see that message and notification that they actually accepted my commit. And it's going to go out to GitHub. And then we're going to see a new build kick off, a new pipeline run. So just keep that in mind. We fully automated this entire environment. I can basically start working. I got a full automated pipeline. I completely self-service. This is all running as Kubernetes pods, running here in the background. I even have my Kubernetes connected when I monitor my Eclipse Che pod specifically, because even Che itself is running as a pod, in this case, in the Kubernetes world. And so that's what we're doing, and that's the Fabricate project. So we got to wrap up here, so let's jump back into the slide deck here. OK? So Fabricate.io and OpenShift specifically. And let me leave you with one more, or two more quotes, actually. I love this one. Our ancestors called it magic, but you call it computer science. In the land where I come from, they are one and the same. And so one thing I want you to keep in mind, you do have these new superpowers available to you. If you adopt the DevOps mindset and move in that category, you're going to have a lot more success. But it's super important that you understand that with great power also comes great responsibility. This was not stated by Uncle Ben, by the way. That's what the movie said. But in the real comic book, it was actually just a voiceover, if you will, by Stan Lee, who wrote that. So this is me on Twitter, or hit me up on email if you have any questions. I would love to hear from you. Hopefully you found this to be entertaining and energizing, and I really appreciate your time. So thank you so much.